Incredible revelation, old janitor exposes hidden truths in Boardroom, transforming lives forever. Frank Malone had spent nearly 50 years mopping floors, fixing broken toilets, and quietly witnessing the daily grind of corporate life at Belmore Corporation. That night was just like any other: an empty building, a polished boardroom, and echoing footsteps that faded into silence. But around him swirled whispers of something sinister, the kind of secrets that turned a man's stomach. He swept beneath the gleaming table, heart heavy with a truth that gnawed at his conscience, a truth that could shake the very foundation of the company. He had heard conversations: executives planning to slash benefits, laughter at the expense of struggling employees, and whispers about hidden funds that stole away the workers' hard-earned wages. Each revelation stung like a sharp slap in the face. Every night as he cleaned, he dreamt of a world where honesty prevailed, where justice wasn't just a fleeting word tossed around in air-conditioned rooms. Frank's little apartment brimmed with fading family photographs. They were his only treasures, reminders of Emma, his estranged daughter. When she had been a bright-eyed girl with dreams of making a difference, he'd been a father trying to make ends meet. But humiliation came when he couldn't pay for her college tuition. The pain of her disappointment had festered, and their bond had unraveled into years of resentment. She chose the courtroom while he became a ghost in the corporate world, invisible yet alive with love for the daughter who no longer wanted him. At a local meeting, Emma stood tall, warrior-like, fighting for corporate accountability. Her fire ignited the crowd, a sea of eager faces clamoring for change. Frank watched from the back, heart racing. He felt the weight of unresolved emotions, a mix of pride in her passion and regret for the distance that had formed between them. When they crossed paths, their shared history bore down on them, unwieldy and unforgiving. Each exchange was laced with unspoken wounds and longing, like two lost souls trying to find their way back home. But as Emma's rally intensified, Frank's internal battle grew fiercer. Should he reveal the secrets he'd learned on his nightly rounds? The audacity of stealing workers' wages in the name of profit bubbled inside him, desperate to be set free. That night, as he cleaned the boardroom, something shifted. It was time to act. Would he risk everything to expose the truth? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the courage igniting within him, Frank made his way to the stage. The murmurs quieted, a slight rustle of uncertainty falling over the crowd. In that electric moment, he opened his mouth to share his truth: how he once saved Belmore Corp from the brink of bankruptcy, yet remained a forgotten face behind a mop. Tears welled, voices murmured, a wave of understanding blossoming. Perhaps this was the moment of redemption, a chance to bridge the chasm between him and Emma. But as the spotlight focused on him, the air thickened with tension. Could they find common ground, heal their wounds, and rise together to ignite a movement for truth in a world rife with greed? Or were they destined to remain trapped by the past? Frank stood at the microphone, heart racing as the gaze of the crowd bore down on him. The silence was almost deafening, a quiet that seemed to wrap around him like an old, painful blanket. With every breath, the weight of decades pressed against his chest, threatening to crush him beneath the burden of unspoken truths. He cleared his throat, fighting back the swell of emotion. I've worked here for almost 50 years, he began, his voice trembling but resolute. 50 years of seeing how this company has hurt its own people. A murmur rippled through the audience. He could see Emma in the front row, shock and curiosity battling on her face. Frank took a deep breath, desperate to find the right words. I've seen the numbers. I've fixed the toilets when the executives laughed in the boardroom about profit margins. The audience reacted, gasps and whispers mingled with the soft shuffle of feet. He pressed on. They cut benefits while laughing about the hard-working souls who kept this company afloat. They stole from those who trusted them the most. As he spoke, flashbacks assaulted him: hot days spent cleaning the floors after lavish parties, executives sipping cocktails while employees slipped through unnoticed. The betrayal ran deep. He could feel his pulse quickening, heart thudding loudly. Somehow, he needed this crowd to understand. You deserve to know the truth, and I can't stay silent anymore. An unsettling quiet followed, the kind of anticipation that filled the space, electric and charged. Emma's eyes locked onto his, a mix of disbelief and understanding dancing across her features. This was it, his chance, their chance. He wanted to reach her, to share this moment and finally connect after years of resentment. But what I did, felt wrong. I was a coward for too long, he admitted, tears welling in his eyes, the vulnerability slicing through his defenses. I didn't just fail you, Emma. I failed everyone who believed in a better way, a fairer way. His hands trembled on the podium. He glanced at the sea of faces before him, some nodding in agreement, others watching skeptically. With renewed determination, he continued. Tonight, I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for every lost voice, every worker who was pushed aside. This corporate greed has gone too far. A wave of clapping erupted, the sound washing over him like a refreshing breeze. Frank felt powerful for the first time in decades. Someone from the crowd shouted, "We're with you." More voices joined, rising like an anthem for change. As the energy surged, he turned to Emma, his heart pounding. The moment felt monumental. But then, just as he was about to acknowledge her with a smile, the lights flickered ominously. Suddenly, the large boardroom doors swung open with a resounding crash, and in strode the executives he had been speaking against. Their smug faces were hard to read, but the tension in the air thickened instantly, palpable and cold. Frank's heart dropped as he realized they wouldn't stand idly by. "What is going on here?" one of them barked, voice sharp as a knife, demanding order as though he were still in control. Frank froze. What would happen next? Would they silence him? Would they rip away the small glimmer of hope that had started to sprout amid the crowd? An electric silence blanketed the room. Every eye, every heart, held the weight of the moment. The executives took center stage, and for Frank, it was as if time had stopped. There was no turning back now. As the threat loomed large, he wondered, would he find the strength to stand tall in the face of intimidation? Or would he falter, lost among the powerful? Always uncertain, he gazed out at Emma, searching for reassurance. Would she be his champion or leave him to face this alone? The executive's presence loomed like storm clouds, dark and heavy over Frank's resolve. Each step they took echoed in the silence, eating away at the courage he had summoned. Just moments ago, he felt a tidal wave of support. Now, that energy seemed fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a table. "Who do you think you are?" the same executive snapped again, eyes narrowing on Frank. "You think you can turn this place inside out with a pile of ridiculous accusations?" Unyielding, Frank blinked hard and stood firm. "I'm just a voice for the silent," he replied, his own voice stronger than he expected. But inside, he quivered, uncertainty threatening to drown him. He wanted to look toward Emma, to capture that connection again, but the force of the executives kept him anchored to his place. Whispers erupted among the crowd. Some rallied behind him, while others hesitated, fear of job loss creeping into their minds. Frank felt their confusion echoing his own. The executives fed on that uncertainty, casting skeptical glances around the room, as if trying to identify allies among their opponents. "You really think employees care enough to rally behind you?" another executive sneered. "You're just an old janitor. This crowd would sooner laugh at you than support your pathetic story." The insult struck deeper than Frank wanted to admit. Yet, the more they belittled him, the more resolve burned inside him. There was a flicker of something in Emma's eyes, concern turning into something fiercer, something that ignited hope. She was still here. He wasn't alone. He took a step forward, heart pounding louder than the voices of doubt swirling in his head. I might be an old janitor, but I've seen the cracks in this foundation. I've mopped the floors while you profited from our pain. You can't silence the truth forever. Gasps rippled through the chairs, creating a wave of subtle energy that floated back toward him. It filled the air with raw possibilities, and he allowed himself to feel it, like a gust of wind lifting him higher. A figure in the back stood up, a familiar face, Tom, the warehouse supervisor, his eyes fierce and unwavering. We're with you, Frank. We all know what has been going on. No more lies. More stood and joined him, adding to the swell of solidarity. The executives glanced nervously at one another, their arrogance wearing thin. Frank could feel the shift. It was palpable, like a power change in the room. He wasn't just standing for himself now, he was carrying the collective truth of everyone who felt overlooked, forgotten. Enough! The lead executive shouted, but this time his voice lacked its previous fire. Frustration flickered across his smug exterior, and it struck Frank that maybe, just maybe, the tide had turned. Frank took a breath, heart racing as he sensed the very air shift with possibility. You can no longer hide behind your greed. The people will not be ignored. The crowd erupted in supportive shouts, more voices merging into a rallying cry. Hope washed over Frank like sunlight breaking through clouds. This was their moment. But just as victory seemed within reach, the lead executive lifted a finger, holding it up like a barrier. You think this is going to go unchallenged? He snarled. Prepare yourself for the consequences. A chill swept through the room, replacing the warmth of courage with a spark of fear. Frank's heart skipped. He felt the ground shift beneath him again, reality creeping back in. What were the consequences they would unleash? He glanced at Emma, catching the fire in her gaze, determination, defiance. We've come too far to turn back now, she mouthed silently, and in that moment, Frank knew it was time to dig deep. But what would the executives unleash next? Would they intensify their intimidation tactics, or would this be the moment, the tipping point that sparked real change? Frank stood frozen, his thoughts racing. The air crackled with tension, the moment teetering dangerously on the edge of something monumental. The executives, once relentless sharks, were now circling backward. Yet their threats hissed like an impending storm, and Frank sensed the anxiety ripple through the crowd. I can't back down now, he whispered to himself, drawing strength from the glimmer of bravery ignited by his fellow employees. Each one of them encountered the small but daunting struggles that bloomed daily within the factory walls. The fear of retaliation had silenced too many voices for far too long, and that silence had created a void where hope could either thrive or wilt away. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the next move. Frank could feel the weight of their anticipation wrapping around him like a warm blanket. He glanced at Emma again, her eyes shimmering with an unspoken promise. They were in this together. His heart swelled with the overwhelming urge to fight for the truth, not just for himself, but for everyone counting on him. Have you forgotten who built this company? Frank's voice rose in defiance. It wasn't you sitting behind desks, raking in bonuses while we struggled. It was the workers, the invisible hands making everything run. The words spilled out, fueled by years of hidden anger and frustration. We deserve better. We deserve respect. The crowd responded with a wave of applause, the sound washing over him like a tidal wave of support. It emboldened Frank further, lifting him into an adrenaline-fueled rush. Heads turned, and eyes sparked with renewed energy. You say we're just employees? He pressed, his tone fiery. But we are the lifeblood of this organization. Without us, your luxury suits mean nothing. You can't snuff out our voices any longer. The lead executive glanced at his comrades, a flicker of worry crossing his features. Just then, another voice emerged from the back. Martha, one of the assembly line workers. Frank's right. We're tired of being ignored. The stories we've carried alone can't be silenced any longer. With her words, more joined in, standing together, each voice building upon the last, creating a resonating song of defiance. But the executives weren't finished. Their eyes narrowed, and they exchanged strategizing glances, shuffling papers as if scrambling for control. You think you're all heroes? It's only going to get worse from here, the lead executive spat. You've made a reckless choice, and there will be consequences. A silence fell, oppressive and heavy. Frank felt an icy grip tighten around his heart. The fear of the unknown clawed at his resolve, but he pushed it aside. What can you do that you haven't already done? He challenged. You can try to scare us, but you only make us stronger. As murmurs of agreement rippled through the room again, Frank sensed the crowd emboldened by his final stand. Then, Emma stepped forward, voice steady. We have each other. We're done being afraid. Let them try, she declared, and her words lit the fire of change deep within. But just when it felt like momentum was firmly on their side, a loud crash erupted from outside the building. The very walls trembled with the sound, and everyone turned their attention to the windows. What was that? Someone gasped. The sight that greeted them sent cold shivers through Frank's spine. A large group of workers from other nearby factories had gathered, signs aloft, chanting, "No more silence." Hope surged through him, but so did fear. What to do next? Would that act of solidarity spark even further outrage from the executives? Or could it fracture the armor they had built around their greed? Frank could hardly process what was unfolding. In this pivotal moment, he felt the weight of history resting on his shoulders. Was this the storm that could wash away the corruption once and for all? Or would it ignite a battle like no other they had faced before? The roar of chants and demands outside filled the air, drowning out the murmurs of anxiety that had sporadically escaped the factory workers. Frank's heart raced, caught somewhere between exhilaration and dread. Could this be the turning point they all desperately needed? The crowd surged with energy, fists raised high, but no one seemed to have a clear plan. What do we do now? Emma leaned closer to Frank, urgency in her eyes. The passion that had ignited her earlier was met with uncertainty, a stark reminder that courage often walks hand in hand with fear. Make them hear us, Frank said, the words spilling out with a fierceness that belied his inner turmoil. It was no longer just about him or even the factory, it was about thousands of workers across the city. Let us join them. He stepped forward, holding out his hand. The people around him hesitated, but Emma took a deep breath and stepped beside him, her hand clasping his tightly. Everyone, we can't fight alone. She shouted, her voice ringing like a bell of hope. We have to show them we are united. As if on cue, the crowd moved as one. They surged toward the exit, a flowing river of defiance. Frank allowed the fear to transform into fuel. The voices of their co-workers echoed in his mind, urging him onward. Outside, the sight was overwhelming. Workers from other factories stood shoulder to shoulder, eyes shining with shared purpose, signs held high, their unity splashing color across the gray concrete landscape. Frank felt a smile break through as he joined them, the buzz of solidarity lifting his spirit. Together! He shouted, rallying alongside Emma. Together we stand. The chants intensified, rhythmically pulsing through the air. No more silence. Echoed off the walls, growing stronger with every repetition. Yet in the midst of this awakening, a figure stepped out from behind the gathering. It was old Mr. Thompson, the janitor, hunching slightly but standing tall, with an air of quiet authority. The whispering crowd slowed, recognizing the long-serving member of their factory family. Frank watched, sensing a shift in energy as the chants began to fade, curiosity taking hold. What do you know, old man? Someone called out, half jeering, half intrigued. Mr. Thompson raised his gnarled hands, palm out. You think I've just been here sweeping floors? His voice rang out, grounded yet firm. I've seen more than you know. A hush fell like a blanket over the crowd. Frank could feel the anticipation crackling in the air like electricity. With every swipe of my mop, I also sweep secrets, Mr. Thompson continued, his eyes scanning the sea of faces. The executives think we're working for them, but it's us they depend on. They think they can hide the truth, but the truth is a powerful beast. Now everyone's attention was riveted on him. Frank felt a twist in his stomach. What truths had been concealed? What dark secrets lay buried beneath their struggles? Listen closely. They've made deals with other companies to slash our benefits, even pitting workers against each other. A storm is brewing at the top of those glass towers, and I have the proof if only you're ready to hear it. Frank's heart pounded. It wasn't just about revealing the corruption anymore, it was about arming their resolve with knowledge that could change everything. What do you mean, proof? Someone pressed, the urgency palpable. Mr. Thompson paused, a glimmer of something almost mischievous in his eyes. Meet me tonight at the old diner. Bring your allies. I have documents that will shake the very foundation of their greed. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Hope and trepidation mingled, and Frank felt the weight of the moment rest heavily on his shoulders. Was this the breakthrough they had long sought? As the crowd erupted into a chorus of questions and excitement, Frank exchanged a determined glance with Emma. Together, they could navigate whatever storm lay ahead. And just like that, the focus shifted to figuring out what they would uncover together. But deep inside, Frank couldn't shake the feeling that finding the truth might come with a price he wasn't ready to pay. What lay in store for them when night fell? Would the secrets of the executives cut deeper than the steel of their manufacturing machines? The afternoon sun hung low, peeking through the factory windows, casting long shadows that mirrored the uncertainty gnawing at Frank's gut. The crowd around him buzzed with excitement and anticipation, but all he could think about was the old diner, dark, familiar, yet now cloaked in the aura of impending revelation. Are you really going to go? Emma's voice sliced through his thoughts, her face awash with concern. Frank shrugged, trying to play it cool. We can't ignore this. If Mr. Thompson has proof, it could change everything. Yet doubts clawed at him. What if this turned dangerous? What if the executives retaliated? Emma reached for his arm, her grip firm and reassuring. I'll go with you. We're stronger together, remember? He nodded, grateful for her steadfastness. They both knew that the risks were real. Would they open a door they couldn't close again? But the stirrings of hope ignited by Mr. Thompson's words propelled him forward. As night fell, the streets transformed. The earlier energy of the protest gave way to an anxious hush. Streetlights flickered to life, casting a pale glow on the pavement, and with each step toward the diner, Frank felt the weight of what they might uncover settling heavily on his shoulders. The diner stood as a relic of a different time, its neon sign buzzing sporadically, reflecting a flickering past. Inside, the rhythm of clinking plates and murmurs of late-night patrons felt out of sync with his pounding heart. But there, in the corner booth, Mr. Thompson sat, a shadowy figure against the backdrop of chrome and vinyl. Glad you made it, he said when they approached, his voice thick with years of weariness but laced with a challenge. The truth isn't easy, but it's necessary. Emma slid into the booth, her eyes wide with curiosity. What do you have for us? Mr. Thompson slipped a well-worn folder from his bag, resting it on the table's surface. There are documents here, emails, contracts that show how the executives manipulate us. They're preying on our anger, feeding lies to pit us against each other. But armed with this, you can turn the tide. Frank felt a mix of fear and determination rise within him. This was more than just a collection of papers, it was a weapon for their fight, a glimpse into the heart of the machine that had exploited them for so long. One of the diner's doors creaked open, a gust of cold air swirling in. Frank glanced over, half expecting trouble. Instead, a small group of familiar faces entered the night crew from the factory, their expressions anxious but resolute. Frank. Emma, called out Tom, their shift supervisor. We heard you two were here. We want in. A surge of adrenaline shot through Frank. This wasn't just about him and Emma anymore, it was a movement, a gathering of shared screams for justice. He felt the warmth of camaraderie wash over him, grounding him in the moment. Sit down, he urged, gesturing to the booth. We're about to blow this wide open. As they all settled in, Mr. Thompson began to unravel the truths mapped out in the documents. The weight of the information hung in the air, a tangible force that bound them together. Each revelation was met with gasps and murmurs, anger ignited among them like a spark catching in dry grass. But amid their growing fervor, a voice of doubt crept in. What if they come after us? One worker whispered, looking pallid at the thought. Frank's heart thudded. The very prospect unleashed a chilling realization. While they hunted for the truth might hunt them in return. Turning to Emma, he caught a glimpse of the resolve mirrored in her eyes. We can't back down, she whispered fiercely. If we stay silent, nothing will change. Frank nodded, bolstered by her spirit. He felt the thrill of what they were doing, but it was entwined with fear. Could they expose the truth without losing everything they had? With every minute that ticked by, their determination deepened, but reality loomed larger. What if once the truth was out, they couldn't go back? As they dove deeper into the revelations, he realized the fight had only just begun. Facing the giants was a daunting task. And in that moment, Frank's mind raced. What would be their first step tomorrow? How would they arm their fellow workers with this knowledge? An electric silence pooled around them, each heart racing faster than the last. Would they step into the unknown, ready to challenge the powers that sought to crush them? The answers lay just ahead, but they were tinged with uncertainty. And as the diner filled with uneasy whispers, one truth loomed large: the battle was about to begin. Would they be ready for what was to come? The diner felt alive and electric, every face in the booth painted with worry and anticipation. Frank couldn't shake off the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, teetering between fear and resolve. As Mr. Thompson continued to go through the documents, Frank's mind buzzed with potential plans and inevitable threats. What do we do with this? Frank finally asked, breaking the heavy silence. The folder lay before him, its contents brimming with potential to ignite change. We cannot just share this without a plan. They'll come after us, they always do. Tom leaned forward, his brow furrowing in thought. Maybe we should gather everyone, but we need safeguards, a way to protect ourselves. If they see us coming together, they might strike first. Emma interjected, her voice steady and assured. We'll need to approach this smartly. We find allies, people we trust, and then we grow from there. Inform the workers slowly, one group at a time. Strength in numbers, right? Frank watched as the group's fear began shifting into a fierce determination. Hope flickered like the diner's neon sign, bright yet vulnerable. They started tossing ideas back and forth, strategizing how best to coordinate. The diner felt less like a place of mere food, but rather a war room, a base camp for a resistance. As their conversation flowed, he could see the threads of camaraderie weaving together. They were fueled by passion and anger, and suddenly the thought of standing alone was unbearable. What's the point of risking everything if they didn't stand united? Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, cutting through their lively banter. Keep your eyes on the prize, folks. This isn't just about trying to survive, it's about thriving, reclaiming what truly belongs to you. The power lies with the people. His eyes shone with a fierce spark that ignited something deep within Frank. It was as though Mr. Thompson had cast their struggle in the best light possible, turning despair into a rallying cry. They all nodded, understanding that they were not just a handful of individuals trying to guard their jobs anymore, they were part of a larger narrative. Feeling the weight of everyone's gaze, Frank stood up. All right, then. Let us lay it all out. Tomorrow, we start letting folks know, but we do it carefully. He looked around the table, meeting every eye in the group. We will begin with our closest friends. We'll pore over this information late into the night if we have to. Together. A collective murmur of agreement passed through the booth, each person visibly lifted by the newfound sense of purpose. As they wrapped up their meeting, plans were made to reconvene later that week, their spirits ignited with anticipation. But as they stepped outside, the cold night air wrapped around them like a shroud, and fear nudged its way back into their minds. Frank felt a chill snake up his spine. What awaited them down this path? Would these hidden truths cost them more than just their jobs? The streets hummed with life, but all noise faded as Frank's thoughts spiraled. Who would they trust? How would the executives respond? He looked at Emma, her features illuminated by the streetlights. He could see the worry etched in her brow, but also a fierce determination mirrored in her eyes. Frank, no matter what happens, we stick together, all right? She said, breaking the silence, her voice fierce yet soft. Yeah, together. He echoed, though doubt wrapped around the edges of his resolve like a vine, threatening to choke him. As they walked away from the diner, a heavy sense of foreboding filled the air. What started as a quest for truth now felt like a looming storm on the horizon. Was the truth worth the fight, and more importantly, were they prepared to face whatever backlash it would bring? Uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud, and Frank pondered, would the truth transform them, or would it tear them apart? Tomorrow would be the first step down a path neither of them could turn back from. But they had to try. And as long as they faced it together, perhaps hope could light the way. Was hope enough when the shadows grew so deep? As the sun peeked over the horizon, its light spilled over the sleepy town like a promise. Frank's alarm blared as it always did, but today held a weight that made the sound feel both urgent and oppressive. He rose from bed, his heart racing with anticipation and dread. The world outside felt different, expectant. He quickly washed his face, the cold water shocking him into awareness. As he stared into the mirror, he could see the flicker of resolve behind his eyes. They had a plan, small but powerful, and today would be their first step. After a quick breakfast, he stepped outside, the brisk morning air cutting through him, sharpening his senses. He took a deep breath, surrendering to the chill. The streets were quiet, the usual hustle muted by the weight of their mission. Each familiar sound felt magnified: the rustle of leaves, the faraway honk of a car, the distant chatter of people starting their day. Frank found Emma waiting at the corner, her hands shoved deep into her pockets, her breath rising in tiny clouds. She smiled as he approached, warmth radiating even in the cool morning. "Ready?" she asked, although her wide eyes betrayed a hint of anxiety. "Yeah, let us do this," he replied, steeling himself as they began walking toward their first stop, the 24-hour supermarket where many from their workplace gathered after shifts. It was their first target because there, they could find allies in an informal setting. Inside the bright fluorescent glow of the store, their nerves mounted with each step. They exchanged glances, a silent understanding that whatever happened next could change everything. Finally, they spotted Megan, a fellow worker with a quick laugh and an eye for detail. She was stacking shelves, and when she saw them, her smile faded to a look of concern. "Hey, you two. What's up? Can we talk for a minute?" Frank asked, his voice barely above a whisper, fearing the ears of others around them. Megan nodded, glancing around before leading them to a quieter aisle. "Did something happen?" Her brow knitted with worry. Frank took a deep breath, pulling out the key folder. "We found some information about the company." "It's not good, Megan. They're hiding things, dangerous things that affect all of us." Emma jumped in, her voice stronger now. "We don't want to scare anyone, but we believe it's time people knew. We can't go on like this in ignorance." Megan's eyes widened as she absorbed their words. "What do you mean by dangerous?" Frank met her gaze, his heart pounding. Things that could risk your jobs, our safety. We want to gather everyone and discuss what we can do together. Megan's expression shifted from shock to contemplation. You're serious? And you want me in on this? Yes, Emma replied, we need to build a network. Strength in numbers. Will you help us spread the word? I don't know. Megan hesitated, her voice shaky. What if it backfires? If the managers catch wind? Frank's stomach dropped at the thought. They all knew the risk, yet the urgency propelled him. If we stay quiet, it'll only get worse. They'll keep taking and taking from us. But if we stand together? Megan looked at Frank, her fear battling with hope. They could feel the flicker of change, the kind that could break the monotonous cycle of oppression. Okay. I'll help. But we need to be careful. Absolutely, Frank replied, relief flooding through him. We meet again tonight, just a few of us for now. As they left the supermarket, the morning sun bathed the streets in a warm glow, lifting a weight off their shoulders. It felt electrifying to have one more set of hands working alongside them. The fear still loomed, but hope glimmered like the sun against glass. But deep down, Frank wondered, what would happen once they started bringing more people into the fold? Was the trust they built strong enough to withstand the inevitable doubts and fears? With hearts racing and anticipation building, they set their sights on the next ally. Every step felt like a countdown, a race against the shadows lurking behind the truth. Can they unite enough voices to challenge the system, or will their quest for justice spiral them into darkness? The rest of the day unfolded like a delicate dance, each hour ticking by with a mix of excitement and fear. Frank couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something monumental. He found himself replaying the conversation with Megan in his mind, her hesitant acceptance a small victory, but fragile like a new bud pushing through the frost. Emma stayed close as they wandered the streets, their next destination still looming in front of them. What if we can't reach enough people? She voiced, breaking the silence that hung heavy between them. What if they don't care? They have to care, Frank replied, forcing a confidence he didn't fully feel. Things won't change unless they do. What are we even going to say? I mean, it has to be convincing. Emma's brow furrowed as she thought it through. We can't sound crazy. His heart raced at the enormity of their task. Crafting the right message felt like a delicate operation. One wrong word could unravel the fragile web they were trying to spin. But deep down, he believed in the urgency of their cause. We'll keep it simple. Just the facts, the dangers they're ignoring. As the afternoon sun began its descent, they found themselves standing outside a local cafe, another spot frequented by their coworkers. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted toward them, stirring their instincts. Frank's hands fidgeted in his pockets, a familiar nervous energy coursing through him. They both glanced in at the usual crowd, friends chatting, laughter spilling over, blissfully unaware of the cracks forming beneath their feet. Do you think we should try talking to Ben? Emma suggested, nodding toward the corner table where a few colleagues were gathered. Ben was known for his outspoken nature and had a knack for rallying others. But that very boldness also made him a potential risk if things didn't go well. Frank hesitated, heart pounding. He could either help or totally blow this for us. True, Emma conceded, her gaze lingering on him thoughtfully. But if we're going to do this, we can't tiptoe around every danger. We need to face it. With a deep breath, he nodded and they walked through the cafe doors, the bell tinkling above them, catching the attention of their peers. Ben's laughter was loud, a magnetic sound. Frank caught his eye, then motioned with a slight wave. Hey, guys. Can we join you? Frank called out, holding his breath. Ben looked up, his grin broadening. Sure, what's up? The small talk began, but Frank soon felt the weight of the conversation shift. Something in the air felt charged, like the calm before a storm. Actually, We wanted to talk about something important, he started, trying to blend casualness with seriousness. Emma chimed in, her voice steady. It's about the company. We've come across some concerning info. We believe everyone needs to be aware of it. The laughter flickered, replaced by raised eyebrows and exchanged glances. What do you mean? Ben asked, his tone shifting. Before Frank could respond, a new voice erupted from the back. It was Janice, one of the older waitresses who had worked there longer than most. Her voice was sharp, it cut through the murmurs. You two are talking about the big guys hiding things? You better watch out. Eyes widened, and the tension thickened. Their crowd swelled with a mix of curiosity and caution. Emma noted the wary looks glancing their way, but one spark of trust surfaced from the corner. Janice leaned in, lowering her voice, her gaze fierce. I've seen things, you know. Don't doubt that. Frank locked eyes with Emma, a powerful current coursed between them. Was this the rallying point they needed? Would Janice, once just a quiet observer, become their unexpected ally? Can you help us? He asked, his heart thumping with hopeful desperation. The cafe, once buzzing with chatter, fell silent, all ears on the impending revelation. What dark truths would Janice reveal, and how would they alter the fate of their mission? The ember of hope blazed brightly, but a new fear loomed. What if it stirred something more formidable than they were ready to face? The prior tension in the cafe transformed into a weighty silence, every gaze pinning Frank and Emma into place. Janice's uneasy expression dripped with years of experience, and as the moments ticked by, it felt as if the entire future of their mission hinged on her next words. Look, she began, her voice barely above a whisper, I've seen employees get pushed aside. Taken down for speaking out. They'll do whatever it takes to protect their profits. She paused, the gravity of her truth hanging thick in the air. But it doesn't mean we should stay quiet. It means we take a stand together. Hope flared in Frank's heart. Can you help us find more people willing to hear the truth? His voice was urgent, each heartbeat echoing the weight of their cause. Janice nodded solemnly, determination creeping into her features. I know who to talk to. People aren't just waiting. They're scared. But if you build trust, it'll spread like wildfire. I'll speak to some I've known for years. But be careful. Thank you. We appreciate it, Emma breathed out, a radiant smile breaking through the tension. Your support could be everything. Behind them, curious whispers ricocheted around the table, conversations caught between fear and longing for change. Frank felt the room begin to shift, the energy awakening sparks within once dormant hearts. The local cafe that had served up so many cups of coffee could now brew a powerful movement. Once the discussion wrapped, they all stood, each person held within a sphere of newfound resolve. Frank could feel the fear and hope wrestle within him, but deep down, the momentum was shifting. Outside, the crisp air breathed new life as they walked away from the cafe, purpose swelling in their chests. Words echoed together, united. Together. We can make a difference. With Emma by his side, Frank could sense their connection growing stronger. Do you think we can really reach enough people? Emma asked, concern twinging her voice. I really believe we can, Frank replied, drawing in strength from everything they encountered. Once others hear this, they won't stay silent. Yes. Emma beamed, her eyes lit with determination. Let us get the info to them before it's too late. We'll host a meeting, and we'll call in everyone we can. As conversation spread and whispers layered atop each other, their rallying cry echoed louder than any fear. Frank could practically feel the winds of change beginning to blow. But lurking, always lurking, were the executives, the shadows cast by greed. What would they do when the tides turned? The power play was about to begin, and as Frank fell asleep that night, he couldn't shake the notion of impending repercussions. The following morning, an electric anticipation crackled through the office the moment Frank arrived. The air was thick with tension. A rapt silence hung around the break room, every colleague seemingly aware something had shifted. Conversations rushed into a hush as Frank approached, questions beckoning from uncertain eyes. "Megan told us." Someone whispered with excitement. "Is it true? Are we really going to fight back?" Another chimed in, eagerness hanging on every word. Frank felt hope surge as he nodded. "Yes. We've got the proof, and we're rallying. Tonight, we want to share everything. You're not alone anymore." As he locked eyes with his co-workers, he sensed a rising current of solidarity. It was intoxicating. Each murmured conversation gathered a swell of momentum. But just as he felt uplifted, the ominous presence of the executives loomed even larger in his mind. Frank's heart raced. What if they were already onto them? After the shift, as evening crept in, he met Emma at the park, a grassy expanse where they had plotted and planned. It felt like the perfect setting to unite those willing to stand firm against corporate manipulation. Around 7 o'clock, the space began to fill. The familiar faces of co-workers gathered in clusters, sharing uneasy laughter while keeping watch for the executives. Frank's heart leaped, sensing the energy, the spark that they had created. Ignited slowly, weaving among the crowd. As they awaited the meeting's start, he stepped forward, heart thudding against his chest. "Everyone, thank you for being here tonight," he began, his voice gathering strength. "This is more than just us. This is about a future free from fear. A future built on honesty and trust." The louder the crowd responded, the brighter the spark of defiance flared. More faces filled in, and suddenly it was a sea of unity, standing together against the tumultuous tides of greed. Frank's heart swelled within his chest at the realization they were sparking a much-needed change, noise echoing back through generations of employees who had felt ignored. It wasn't just his voice now, it was a chorus for those who had been silenced for too long. But Frank's moment of triumph was fleeting. A heavy rumble echoed in the distance, and Frank's breath caught as he noticed a line of black cars rolling toward them, a fleet of executives, emerging like shadows from behind the twisted branches of betrayal. "Stay strong," he urged the crowd as the vehicles came into view, dread gnawing at his insides. "Whatever they throw at us, we have each other." The executives stepped out, faces hard and stern. Frank could feel the weight of their collective gaze. Was this the tipping point? Or the moment that would break them apart? "We recommend you walk away while you can," one executive called, voice slicing through the crowd like a knife, yet the clamor of unwavering voices pushed back. "Truth is more powerful than your intimidation," someone shouted from the crowd, echoing Frank's resolve. Frank squared his shoulders and stepped forward, the electric noise engulfing him. "We will not be silenced. We have what you did not want us to find, and if you believe your threats will subdue us, you are mistaken." The executives faltered, uncertainty rippling among them. In that moment, Frank felt the air shift, their tremors of fear masked by years of silence slowly melted away. Step by step, the crowd pressed forward, fists raised high and voices united. They stood together against the weight of executives' greed, determined hearts ringing with clarity and courage. And as Frank caught sight of Emma, standing proud beside him, he knew they were ready for this fight. Today was theirs. Today, they would rise. Would they move forward unscathed, or would the past claw back, demanding its price? There would be no stopping now. The truth united them, and they were stronger together, a force that could weather any storm. Now was the time for courage. Together, they could face what lay ahead and forge a new path for their futures, one that overflowed with possibilities. The fight for justice had only just begun. To everyone reading this, don't sit still. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that showcase real triumphs. Leave a like now to support the movement and feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to share now, don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand the importance of standing together in solidarity.